Welcome back, everybody, to Untitled Crypto. My name's Mike. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate you guys attending this particular video because this is a good one. This is one I've been wanting to make for a while. It's one I've been talking about making for a while, and I better get around to it because it's time to get some of this stuff back in its storage unit when it's safe, and I can go on vacation with my family. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin versus gold. Now, well, what do we have here? We have a 1 ounce gold coin, worth today about $1,750 roughly. We also have a 1 ounce silver coin worth about $24.50 roughly. And here we have Bitcoin. It's there somewhere, out there in cyberspace. Let's talk about the differences between the two because this is a huge topic of debate. It's been going on for a very long time, especially since Bitcoin has hit the main world stage and has got basically worldwide attention now. There's a lot of people who really don't know what Bitcoin is now. A couple of years ago, it wasn't like that. A few years before that, it wasn't even like that. And back, about 10 years ago, it was super obscure. It was just something that was mined on the internet. Nobody really knew what it was. A lot of the computer nerdy type people, no shade, guys, not whatsoever. I wish I was more into that kind of stuff because I would have been a Bitcoin billionaire had I known about it a long time ago. I didn't get into it early enough to make those kinds of gains. In fact, I was more of a gold bug, which is why I know a lot about the precious metal, and I understand the investment value in it. I also understand the protection against the inflating US dollar or whatever fiat country currency it is in whatever country you live. So let's talk about the differences between gold and Bitcoin. Here's gold. I can hold it. It's pretty. It's shiny. What can I do with it? Well, I can buy it and hold it, hoping that it goes up. I can take it to the gold shop from where I got it from, and I can sell it for fiat dollars. And other than that, there's really not much I can do with it. I can't really send it across the world unless I want to take the risk of it getting intercepted in the mail. If you have a lot of gold and a lot of silver, you come in pretty big bars sometimes. It's kind of hard to custody that because if you keep it at your home, there's always the chance of it being robbed or taken from you somehow. If you leave it in a bank deposit box, you got to pay for it, you got to hold it. There's never any guarantee that it's even safe there. Believe me, I've heard some pretty weird stories about people holding their stuff in what is considered safe storage in the bank. But in today's world, I just really can't do much more with gold. I love the fact that you can hold it in your possession. This is physically in my hand. Come try to take it from me. I dare you. But I can't take this with me when I go out to dinner and pay for it. I can't take it to the grocery store and buy my milk and eggs with it. It just kind of sits there looking pretty. Yes, it does have real world value, absolutely, because this is worth money in any country in the world. It's gold. It's universal, basically. This is the first form of money. Gold and silver coins were the first form of money ever to hit the stage for mankind. Now, unfortunately, the rules have changed with gold and silver and other precious metals. They're people's currencies, governments' currencies are no longer backed by the precious metal. That is what gave currency value. Now, we came off the gold standard in 1971, and it's been nothing but inflation ever since. And in 1933, the U.S. government actually basically made it illegal for people to own gold, and they took all their gold, and they made people turn it in, and then they got all the gold, and consequently, they actually reassessed the value of gold. So people lost value there. That was a huge transfer of wealth. It was very criminal, if you ask me. But it still exists, today. It's everywhere. You see it in jewelry. You see it... Well, I guess you don't really see it that many places, huh? I mean, unless you're Peter Schiff, nobody really talks so much about gold quite as much anymore because if you look at today and what's going on, precious metals for a very long time were like the gold standard, no pun intended, but it really was the gold standard in holding an asset, a hard asset outside of whatever fiat currency that you were holding on to in case of runaway inflation. If you look at some of these countries like Venezuela, and there's many examples of many countries whose basically their currency went to return to its original form to whence it came. And for them, holding on to gold and silver was a really good move because they protected their wealth. They protected their purchasing value. If you could turn in one piece of gold for, let's just say $1,000 worth of whatever currency it is, and then that money inflates and it's, gone up 50 times, or down 50 times, I should say. And then you can go ahead and you can say buy that same piece of gold and go buy $50,000 worth of whatever that currency may be. What you've done is you have you've held on to your purchasing value. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, things have gotten very, very different. Excuse my loud neighbor with his disgustingly loud car. But anyways, so when it comes to Bitcoin, what can you do with Bitcoin? I can't hold it. It's not shiny. It's not pretty. I can't make jewelry out of it. But I can send it around the world within a matter of hours for a relatively cheap price. Nobody can stop me. No government, no agency. It's immutable. It's fungible down to 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. I can't really say the same for gold and silver. I break this down to maybe about the size of a gram. They have gram bars. I haven't really seen anything smaller than a gram bar, but if I was to break this into gram bars, I'd be looking at 31 grams. To be able to break Bitcoin down to 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, a Satoshi, that is a property that Bitcoin has that makes it extremely fungible. You guys, you can do so much with that. People look at Bitcoin's price today at $60,000 roughly, and they think, I can't buy a Bitcoin. Well, you don't have to. You can buy a 10th of a Bitcoin or a 100th of a Bitcoin, or if you really wanted to. I don't know anyone who would yet until the value goes up, but you could buy just a few Satoshis worth of Bitcoin. And where do you put it? Where do you store it? Well, there's hard storage, there's cold storage, there's custody services. You can keep it on a nice little ledger, and like the gold in my hand, come try to pry that off my cold dead hands. Go ahead and try to get the seed phrase out of me. You're not going to get it. Now, there's a much more of a risk when it comes to holding, your Bitcoin and your cryptocurrencies on exchanges. There's hacks. There's all kinds of things going on. But there's a risk inherent with everything. I mean, even the dollars in my pocket, if someone was to rob me and take my wallet, there goes whatever I have on me. But there is such a divide between the people who are on the right and on the left. And I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about gold bugs who hate Bitcoin, probably at this point because they're jealous. Peter Schiff. And then there's the hardcore Bitcoin people who are just all in on cryptocurrency. What I'm trying to get people to understand on my channel here, as an investment purpose, you're so much better off diversifying what you have in things like Bitcoin, i.e. cryptocurrencies, and precious metals. You can have both. They can coexist. They both do kind of different things, really. They're very inherently different. One's physical, one's digital. We are definitely in a digital age. Everything is going to continue to head that direction for the digital age. Cryptocurrency and internet money is not going to go anywhere. Well, but up, in my opinion, eventually over the long haul. But really, people are transacting over the internet now. I mean, look at the Amazons. Look at all these. You can buy Tesla with Bitcoin now. I mean, at this point, Bitcoin is here to stay. It is no longer a speculative asset. Whereas gold isn't a speculative asset either. One of the main differences between gold and Bitcoin is that this doesn't really quite have the volatility involved with it that Bitcoin has. If you look at Bitcoin's history, it started out at just a couple of cents and is now up $60,000 and probably going to be worth a lot more than that at some point. Another difference between gold and Bitcoin is this still comes out of the ground. This is a finite resource. Yes, it is a finite resource. We don't know how finite it is, but there's still a lot of gold left in the ground yet to be discovered. So Bitcoin, being only 21 million and being mined, I think there's over 18 million at this point that has been mined. And obviously, if you're watching this channel, you know enough to know about Bitcoin and the 4-year cycles and the halving and all that stuff. So supposedly the last Bitcoin is going to be mined in 2140. Imagine the prices by then. I can't even fathom those kinds of things. But so Bitcoin is becoming more and more sound money. Now, people don't really spend their Bitcoin yet. I mean, people do. They send it around. Bitcoin is becoming basically the digital version of this little guy right here. Now, gold has a $10+ trillion market cap. Bitcoin right now just broke over a $1 trillion market cap. At some point, there will be more people holding Bitcoin than there will be people holding gold. A lot of people in the US aren't really into holding gold. You look at countries like India, And it's very normal for them to give gifts in gold. For them to a lot of families actually, they do hold precious metals. Gold being a huge source of jewelry and all those other things, keeps wealth in their family. And so when it comes to Bitcoin versus gold, like I said, if you're holding on to this bad boy right here, you may as well be holding on to this bad boy right here. They're becoming worthless, you guys. The United States Treasury is printing money like you wouldn't believe. Another $3 trillion stimulus package is already starting to take shape. $3 trillion. This country is roughly somewhere between $28 and $30 trillion in debt. That's not going away. We can't buy that down. We can't even print that much money. There is really only about $2.5 trillion actual hard dollars in circulation. So where's the rest of the money? What essentially is the rest of the money? It's internet money. It's ones and zeros that are taking place in bank transactions all over the world. You push a button and millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it may be, these transactions, they're not even backed by physical dollars. They're certainly not backed by gold anymore. So what is this country in particular, and I focus on the US dollar not so much because I'm a US citizen, but because the US dollar is the world reserve currency. So for them to have the position of having the world reserve currency and to do what they're doing with the dollars is pretty unfair if you think about it. They're inflating the currency. You want to talk about something going to the moon and not in a good way? It's the US dollar. The US dollar is headed for trouble. The US dollar is headed for a crash. And again, why I focus on the US dollar is because when, and I'm not saying if, because this is a when situation, when the US dollar tanks, when the US dollar faces hyperinflation, the rest of the world fiat currencies are going to go down with it. Because like Bitcoin being the king daddy of cryptocurrency, the US dollar is the king daddy of fiat. And there is no way out of this. Think about some of the other countries. Even China. China is one of the biggest holders of US debt. Why would anyone want to purchase US debt any longer when we can just print money? Why would US citizens and corporations even continue to pay taxes when the US government can, or the Federal Reserve that is, can just print money out of thin air and not even necessarily have to hit the printing press? Just put more ones and zeros in people's computers, in their bank accounts, and use that as a store of value. See, what I want you guys to understand here is that Bitcoin is a store of value. There are many, many, many other altcoins and projects that are more like money. Take Litecoin, for example, the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Litecoin. If you were going to pay for something in cryptocurrency, most people would probably, if we're just saying that you only had Bitcoin and Litecoin, most people would be paying with their Litecoin. It's faster, it's cheaper, and it's quicker to transact. Not only the fact that there's much more of it, but people don't necessarily want to spend their Bitcoin. It is slower, it is more expensive, and it's such a store of value that people don't want to let go of their Bitcoin. Stacking sats is a real thing. Corporations are buying it. Governments are buying it. They're not backing their fiat dollars with it, and it'll never be backed by gold ever again. But you see the point I'm getting to here, you guys? You're so much better off being invested in cryptocurrencies and gold. And if you want to spread that out even further, property, storing food, storing water, buying baseball cards. Anything is better than holding on to the US dollar, because this here is the ultimate SH you-know-what coin. The airdrops, they're airdropping this stuff to every American citizen who doesn't have enough of it because of the crisis that we're going through right now. Now, what's going to happen? Eventually, massive inflation is going to set in. Your dollars are becoming less and less valuable because everything is going up based against the dollar. All the assets, food prices are going up. Rent is going up. Cars are going up. Gas is going up. Everything that you use this trash to buy against is going up. So what are we doing? We're seeing asset prices go up. The stock market's going up. You know, the funny thing is that before Bitcoin, basically, this is what people kind of turn to for a safe haven. people would put their money in gold and silver, and gold and silver would go up. Well, it would only go up based on the US dollar, but you get the point. If you look at gold today, gold's been bouncing between about $1,750 and $1,850 for a while now. And it's leveled off for one reason, and one reason only. Because people are putting their money in digital gold. They're putting it in Bitcoin. They're putting it in Ethereum. They're putting it in other altcoins. Silver today is roughly worth about $24.50. It's been bouncing around between $23 to $28 for a while now. It has also leveled off. You think by now with all this printing, if this kind of printing was going on 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you would see the price of these precious metals begin to tick upwards in a pretty good amount. Now, like I said before, gold is a lot more or a lot less volatile. That's one of the things about Bitcoin that turns a lot of traditional investors off, a lot of boomers, a lot of people who are not used to that kind of action, even people in the stock market. You come over to the crypto market and you see some massive gains and you see some massive drops, and that scares people away a lot of times. But the fact that gold and silver are still sitting roughly where they have been at for a long time and the crypto market is booming says something. The transition is happening. Now, I would never tell somebody to go, if they have gold and silver, sell all your gold, sell all your silver, and buy some Bitcoin. Because what I'm trying to get through to you guys is the diversification. We just mentioned that. Diversify your assets. The gold people need to learn about cryptocurrencies. And if you're in crypto, you guys, I think more people are on this channel by far are invested in cryptocurrencies. And if you could, please, if you've made it this far in the video, I do appreciate this. I hope I've held your attention here and I've not rambled on too much, but let me know in the comments below. How many of you anonymously hold crypto? And how many of you hold Bitcoin, or I'm sorry, gold or silver, or both? How many people on this channel who are mostly crypto people actually have a little bit of a divestment into gold and silver? I want to know. I want to talk about it with you guys. I want to answer any questions you have. I want to be able to go back and forth with you and chat with you about these kinds of things, because it's time for some of the crypto people also to open their eyes to precious metals. Now, why is that? Because economic hard times are coming. Now, people used to be scared of investing into cryptocurrencies because they can't touch it, they can't hold it, they can't protect it, they don't understand it. It scared people off. But at this point, with the mass adoption that's taking place right now, you would literally have to shut off the internet. You would have to kill the power for Bitcoin to go away. And even then, being on the blockchain, all you have to do is restore the power, and it's right back there again. You enter your seed phrase on whatever wallet that you're holding, and you get all your crypto back. But listen, if the lights ever did go out, I think we've got a lot bigger problems than worrying about our Bitcoin, because you're not going to be able to spend it if you can't access it. Now, that's where gold and silver comes in. If any of you guys have watched some of my earlier videos before I even became a crypto channel, I am somewhat of a prepper. Nothing major, but I do definitely have my preps. I've got my food, I've got my water, got my protection. You know, if there was ever a scenario, listen, the world we live in, you guys, is very volatile. There are a lot of problems now that we didn't have a long time ago. If you look at just what happened with the whole C virus thing, it shows how vulnerable we are. If you look at what happened in Texas with their power grid going down, it shows how vulnerable we are. If you look at all the tension around the world, and I'm not fear-mongering, guys, I'm just talking plainly with you. If a major war broke out at any time, imagine what would happen if worst case scenario hits. Imagine what would happen if the US dollar just completely tanked, because at some point it will. Holding on to a little bit of this, particularly this, I mean, it would be hard to transact in gold when an ounce 1 ounce coin is so valuable, you know, $1,800 roughly. But if you got yourself some silver, you can go down there, you can buy your milk, you can buy your eggs, you can maybe buy a couple chickens off your neighbor, you could feed your family if you had to. And that's the point I'm trying to get across, mostly to my crypto audience, because I don't have anybody who's into precious metals following this channel, but a lot of you, well, most of you, you're crypto guys, and I'm telling you, it's time to look into gold and silver. Now, I'm not saying that you should go sell your crypto and buy a bunch of gold and silver. If you're sitting pretty, and if you're all in and you're vested pretty heavily in crypto, I would recommend that sometime during this bull run, sometime maybe towards the end of this bull run, if you've got extra cash laying around, go pick up some silver, man. Go buy yourself a little bit of gold and silver. And if you were going to go heavy into one or the other, get into the silver. And I'll tell you why. Gold, sorry, I had a little interruption there. My computer went out. Gold and silver historically were at about 15-to-1 ratio for a very, very, very long time. Now, silver is sitting roughly today at about 70-to-1. It's coming out of the ground at about 10 or 12-to-1. Estimates as high as 15-to-1. It should be 15-to-1. But for every one of these, it takes 70 of these to equal the US dollar equivalent. So if you were going to invest, and as a matter of fact, when I make some money in this bull run, I am going to be investing heavily into silver, because I think silver is the single most undervalued hard asset on the planet. And I say that with conviction, because silver has a lot of use cases, and it's a lot less. It's a lot more rare than the 70-to-1 ratio from silver to gold. You got to have yourself some silver, you guys. Now, are you going to make the kind of money on silver and gold that you would on Bitcoin? No. You're also not taking as much of a risk, especially when you start getting into some of those altcoins. You're not taking as much of a risk because you're holding a hard asset. Nobody can get it from you, and the fact that at least when you're holding a little bit of silver and gold, you can stave off the inflation that is coming. Massive inflation is coming. It might not hit this year, it might not hit next year. Although I think we're gonna start to feel the repercussions sometime in 2022 of the massive U.S. dollar printing, because we haven't even touched the surface yet. They're talking about UBI, universal basic income. They're printing stimulus money. It's getting crazy, you guys. So, although you're not going to make, you're not going to invest $1,000 into silver and 10x that, you're not going to. If you're lucky, you might 2 to 5x it. I think silver's due for a pop. I think when silver gets cut loose, there's a lot of manipulation in JP Morgan with silver. Go do your own research about that, guys. But at some point, that's going to come to an end, and I think silver's going to catch up back to its historical ratio of 15-to-1. So silver is a very solid asset. Gold is going to protect your money, it's going to protect your purchasing power, but silver, you can actually make up some ground. But at the same time, who wins? Bitcoin or gold? Bitcoin. I got to go with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's doing things that gold will never be able to do. Bitcoin, the infrastructure that's being laid for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and the fact that it's so rare. As a matter of fact, some people estimate that anywhere from 3 to 5 million Bitcoin are lost forever. Because back when it was worth, hardly anything, people forgot about their Bitcoin. They threw away their old computers. They lost them. There's a lot of reasons that people have died, and their passphrases are they died with them. So take that off the top, and we're talking about an asset that's extremely, extremely rare, and people want to get their hands on it. You can see that by all of the institutional investments that have been laid and are continuing to take root. People are gobbling up the Bitcoin. We are going to have a crisis. There's not going to be enough Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, there's not enough Bitcoin right now for every millionaire in the world to own one whole Bitcoin. Let that sink in. Imagine if everyone who had $1 million wanted to go buy just one Bitcoin. They can't. They couldn't. They physically couldn't. They would have to settle for fractions of a Bitcoin. And what would that do? That would make the price worth an astronomical amount. So, I know this has been a long video, and this is the first of a couple videos I'm going to do. I'm also going to be sharing you guys in the next video different ways or different sizes of investments. I really only hold gold in ounces. I don't have that much gold, but I've got silver from 1 gram to 100 ounces. So we're going to take a look at that next time. And like I said, please let me know in the comments what you think about the gold versus Bitcoin. Let me know which one you think you would rather hold on to. Let me know if you're thinking of taking some of your investments, whether it's from gold to Bitcoin or Bitcoin into gold, and how you feel about that. And let me know what you think about how you feel about the US dollar basically returning to its former self. So, thank you for joining me. We appreciate it. My girl here, La Planta, she likes gold. She likes Bitcoin more. So, professional opinion, although I'm not a financial advisor or a professional in any means, who wins? Bitcoin. Enough said. Peace.